And I welcome every one of you for the third day faculty development program. Today we have our resource person, Dr. P. Sendil Kumar, Professor, SVS College of Engineering, Coimbatore. He completed BE in PSNA College of Engineering and Technology, Dindigul in 1992. He completed ME in Anna University, Coimbatore in 2009. He completed PhD in Mahalingam College of Engineering and Technology, Pollachi in 2017. He has 25 years experience, out of which 21 years in teaching and 4 years in industries. He worked as production engineer in Precision Engineering Company, Coimbatore from 1993 to 1994. Then he worked site engineer in Papertech Service, Coimbatore from 1995 to 1996. Worked as maintenance engineering in Mira Paper Private Limited, Tirukovilur from 1996 to 1997. Then he worked as a lecturer in Nanjaya Lingamal Polytechnic College, Metupalayam from 1998 to 2004, and he promoted as a head of department in automobile engineering till 2007. He worked as a lecturer and head of the department in Sankara Institute of Technology, Coimbatore from 2007 to 2010. Then he worked as a senior lecturer and head of the department in SSK College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore from 2010 to 2011. Then he worked as an associate professor and head of department in Ranganathan Engineering College, Coimbatore from 2011 to 2012. Then he worked as an associate professor in Kadir College of Engineering, Coimbatore from 2012 to 2015. Then he worked as an associate professor in VSB College of Engineering Technical Campus, Coimbatore from 2016 to 2017. Then he worked as an associate professor in Auro Technological and Research Institute, Hyderabad from 2017 to 2018. Now he is working as professor in SVS College of Engineering from 2018 till date. He published more than 15 papers in national and international journals. He presented various papers in conference and attended various seminars and FDP. We are happy, sir, to have you resource person today, FDP.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I like to thank our management, principal, vice principal, and HODs of various departments for giving us the permission and support to conduct this FDP. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Arthur Clive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very good morning to one and all present here. First of all, I thank you from bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity. I express my gratitude to the management, principal, and organizing coordinator, Dr. N. Balakrishnan, and his committee members of Atal Faculty Development Program on Sensor Technology in Industrial Applications, arranged by Yanamani College of Technology. By Yanamani College of Technology, I am very much appreciate their effort in this FDP session, organizing this FDP session. Today, I am going to talk about the lithography and sensor robotics. I feel this topic become inevitable and unavoidable in this technological era. Now, let us step into our topic, lithography and sensors in robotics. Please pin in my slide. It is visible. Are you able to see my slides?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we
Now,
yes, yes, yes,
okay, sir. So lithography and sensor in robotics. So in my talk, outline of my talk, the lithography. So in lithography, what is lithography? In lithography, photolithography, electron beam lithography, nanolithography, X-ray lithography, AFM nanolithography, and soft lithography, nano imprint lithography, and finally the depend nanolithography. These topics we are talk in this session, and also in the sensor in robotics. So what is the use of sensor in robotics? Light sensor, sound sensor, temperature sensor, tactile sensor, positioning sensor, proximity sensor, acceleration sensor. These areas we are discussed in this session. So first we go to the what is lithography. So lithography comes from the Greek word. Lithos means stone and graphein means to write. So in this one, in lithography depends on the fact water and grease repel. This method was invented in 1796 by German author and actor Alois Sennefeld. Yes, cheap method of publishing artwork on a paper or to print text. So in this pattern drawn onto the flat limestone and then paint the printing ink onto the stone. While the stone background absorbs the water, the grease substance hold wet ink on the top. So, press papers against the stone to transfer the pattern. In 20th and 21st century, it becomes an important technique with unique dramatic capabilities in the art field. So many techniques of lithography has been developed in the last half a century with various lens system and exposures radiation source including photons, X-rays, electrons, ions and natural atoms. So photolithography is most widely used technique in microelectronic fabrication, particularly for mass production of integrated circuits. So it is a simple background of the lithography. We go to the photolithography. So in this one, photolithography is process of transferring geometric shapes on a mask to the surface of a silicon wafer. In the following steps we are followed in the photolithography. First one is wafer cleaning. So in this wafer cleaning, the first step of the photolithography. So in the wafer cleaning, chemically cleaned the organic, iron and metallic impurities presented in the wafer. So it is very important to clean the wafer. So in this one, the silicon wafer is there. In this wafer, clean the with chemicals. So and then the next one is the barrier layer formation. Barrier layer formation. After cleaning the silicon dioxide, which serves as a barrier layer, is deposited on the surface of the wafer. So first step, it is a wafer cleaning. After that, the barrier layer formation. So in the silicon wafer, we coated with the silicon dioxide, which serves as the barrier layer. So and then the third step, the photoresist application. Photoresist application. So in the photoresist application, the photoresist is applied to the surface of the wafer by high-speed centrifugal spinning. So it is a thin film technology. So in this technology, we know there is a spin coating. So in the produce a thin uniform layer of photoresist on the vapor surface. So in this process, the liquid solution is photoresist is give out of from the wafer by rapid spin and produce a uniform thin layer. So in the thin layer thickness is 0.5 micrometer to 2.5 micrometer. So in spin coating or spinner typically runs at a 1200 rpm to 4800 rpm for a 30 seconds to 60 seconds. So chemicals commonly used in the photoresist are polymethyl methacrylate, polymethyl glutaramate, phenol formalin resin. These three chemicals are used for the photoresist. So next we positive photoresist. So in this one, the positive photoresist is exposed to UV light. The underlying material is to be removed. In this resist, exposure to UV light change the chemical structure of the resist so that they become a more soluble in the developer. The exposed resist is then washed away by the developer in this word, whatever source it goes like that. So here it is a positive photoresist. In this positive photoresist applied in the layer, so above the this layer, so in the remaining areas is goes away. So whatever source in the UV light, it is wash out. So it is the positive photoresist. The resistor covered area only remaining. It is the positive photoresist. Next one is the negative photoresist. In this negative photoresist, behave just a opposite manner to the positive photoresist. Exposure to the UV light causes a negative resist to become a polymerized and more difficult to dissolve. So therefore, the negative resist remain on the surface. Negative resist remain on the surface. So wherever it is exposed, and then developer solution remove only the exposed unexposed portion. So here the photoresist is covered all the area. The uncovered area only is removed. The uncovered area only is to be removed. It is negative photoresist. Next one is the pre-backing. So in the pre-backing is the step during which almost all the solvent are removed. All the solvent in this one we are using some solvent. These solvent must be removed. So from the photoresist, the photoresist became a photosensitive after pre-backing. Photoresist is pre-back at 90 degree to 100 degree for 5 minutes to 30 minutes. So it is the pre-backing. So next, mask alignment and exposure. So in the mask or photo mask is a square glass plate which patterned combination of metal film on one side pattern transferring onto the wafer surface. There are three primary exposure method: contact, proximity and projection. They are shown in the figure. So it is the following slide we will discuss. So contact printing. So in contact printing, wafer is brought into crystal contact with photomask. So because of the contact between resist and mask, very high resolution is possible. So the problem with contact printing is the fragments trapped between the resist and the mask can damage the mask and cause defect in the pattern. So it is the photoresist. So in the photoresist resist on the silicon wafer. So in the due to the optical system, it is contact with the photoresist. So here the contact wafer brought into the physical contact in this type, the contact printing. So next one is the proximity printing. So in this proximity printing, proximity exposures method is similar to contact printing except the small gap. So 10 to 25 micron wide maintained between the wafer and the mask. In between the wafer and the mask have the some gap. It is in 10 to 25 microns. This gap minimized but may not eliminate. So it's maybe minimize the gap but not eliminate the gap. So approximately 2 to 4 micron resolution is possible with proximity printing. So next one is the projection printing. The projection printing avoid the mask damage. So entirely avoid the mask damage. So and then an image of the pattern on the mask is projected on the wafer. So which is many centimeters away. To achieve high resolution, only small portion of the mask is imaged. It has a 1 micron resolution. So these are the three type of patterning. And then next, the development. So in the development is a process which exposed or non-exposed area is dissolved by the developer. Most commonly used developer is tetramethyl ammonium hydroxide is used in concentration of 2.38 to 2.62%. Developer is important in controlling the development uniformity. Therefore, two methods for mainly used: spin development and spray development. During spin development, wafer or spin and developer is poured onto the rotating wafer. In spray development, the developer is sprayed rather than poured on the wafer by using nozzle that produce a fine spray over the wafer. So it is the two type. One is the spin development, another one is the spray development. So in next one is the hard backing. So in the hard backing is used to harden the final resist image at the temperature of 120 degree to 150 degree centigrade, so that it will be hold out the harsh environment of etching. So in the etching is the performed either using wet chemical such as acids or more commonly in a dry etching by exposing the material to be bombardment of ions. The photoresist will resist the etching and protect the material covered by the resist. When the etching is complete, the resist is stripped, leaving the desired pattern. Stripping: after the imaged vapor has been etched, the remaining photoresist must be removed. There are two classes of stripping technique: wet stripping and dry stripping. A simple example of stripper is acetone. Acetone tends to leave residues on the wafer. Most commercial organic stripper are phenol based. Application of the photolithography. So in the main application of the photolithography, IC designing process. So the sample fabrication of photolithography is shown in the figure. So other application: printed electronic board, name plate and printer plates. Lithography. So the main application is IC designing process. Other application, printed electronic board, nameplate and printer plates. So next, electron beam lithography. Electron beam lithography is a specialized technique for creating the extremely fine patterns. It is derived from the scanning electron microscope. Electron beams can be focused to a few nanometers in diameter. The basic idea behind the electron beam lithography is identical to optical lithography. This substrate is coated with a thin layer of resist, which is chemically changed under exposure to the electron beam, so that the exposed or non-exposed area can be dissolved in a specific solvent. The electron beam lithography is the most powerful tool for the fabrication of feathers as small as 3 nanometers to 5 nanometer. The electron beam is normally referred to as a column in electron beam column. So typically consists of the following components. These are the components: the electron source. The electron source may be emitted from the conducting material either by heating or applying the electric field. Here is the electron gun. So stigmatus. So stigmatus is a special type of lens used for alignment of beam. E-beam. Stigmatus may be either electrostatic or magnetic and consist of 4 or more poles. Electron lenses. Electron lenses can be made only to coverage, not diverge. So electron can be focused either electrostatic force or the magnetic force. Apertures. Apertures are the small hole through which the beam passes on its way down the column. There are several types of apertures. A blacking aperture is used to turn the beam on and off. A beam limiting aperture has two efforts. It sets the beam coverage and the angle through the electron can be passed through the system. The controlling efforts lenses aberration in this resolution. Here. So, blacking plates. The blacking plates used to modify the E-beam. These are simple electrostatic reflectors. One or both the plates are connected to the amplifier with a fast response time. Advantages of electron beam lithography: print complex pattern directly on the wafer, eliminate the diffraction problem, high resolution of up to 20 nanometer. In the photolithography, we discussed that. So it is resolution is 15 nanometer. Here it is the 20 nanometer. So flexible technique. Disadvantages: slower than optical lithography, approximately 5 wafers per hour at less than 0.1 micro resolution. Expensive and complicated. Forward scattering and backward scattering is there. Secondary electrons. Application of the EPL. Electron beam lithography is used primarily for two purposes: very high resolution lithography and fabrication of mask. And nanolithography. So in the here we discuss about the next step in the lithography, that is nanolithography, concerned with study the application of nanometer scale structures. We are all know that the nanometer scale structures because previous sessions and all discussed about the nanosensor and all. So in the nanolithography is derived from the Greek word nano, means fine, tiny particles, very small, like that. It is meaning of trap. Lithos means rock or stone, and graphian means meaning to write. Therefore, the correct translation is tiny writing on stone. Nanolithography is used, example, during the nanofabrication of semiconductor integrated circuits. that is nano circuitry. For nano electromechanical system, NEMS, or for almost any other fundamental application across various scientific disciplines in nano research. This method is different to various existing nanolithography techniques. X-ray lithography, atomic force microscope, nanolithography, soft lithography, nano imprint lithography, dip and nanolithography. First we discuss about the X-ray lithography. In X-ray having wavelength of 0.04 nanometer to 0.5 nanometer represent another radiation source for high resolution design reproduction into the polymeric resist material. X-ray lithography was first demonstrated to obtain high resolution design using X-ray proximity printing by Sensor and Smith. X-ray lithography can be extended optical resolution of 50 nanometer. Essential elements in X-ray lithography: a mask consists of pattern made with the X-ray absorbing material on a thin X-ray transparent membrane. An X-ray resource of sufficient brightness. An X-ray sensitive resist material. These are the essential elements of X-ray lithography. X-ray lithography illuminate a mask placed in proximity of resist coated wafer. The X-ray are typically from synchrotron radiation source, allowing rapid exposure. The X-ray lithography is expensive because of the expensive of operating a synchrotron. The actual operating expense without considering the initial investment of tens of millions of dollars. Therefore, the LIGA process was developed to reduce the dependency of the synchrotron. So, in the LIGA is the abbreviation from German word lithographen galvanic Affirmer, that is lithography, electroplating and molding. So in the X-ray lithography steps, first one is the irradiation. So in this one, the irradiation, the X-ray lithography is irradiated with the inward exposing thick layer of resist to high energy beam of X-ray from a synchrotron. The mask membrane is normally a low atomic number material such as a diamond, beryllium, or thin membrane of higher atomic number material such as silicon, silicon carbide, like that. It is the mask membrane. Here it is the resist. So next one is the development. So in this step, the pattern is etching into the resist subtract by the use the X-rays. Next step is electroforming. The electroforming is the same as the electroplating. The electroforming suggests that plating is used to create a actual metal component. So here the metal component is filled. So, and then mold insert. A chemical solvent, polymethyl methacrylate, is used to dissolve the material. So resulting model of the mask pattern after removal of the resist, a freestanding metal structure is produced. Mold filling. The metal structure may be final product or serve as a mold insert for precision plastic molding. Mold release. The plastic mold retain the same shape, size and form as a original resist structure but is produced quickly. Molded plastic parts may then be final product. It is the plastic structure. So in this process we make the X-ray lithography. So in this X-ray lithography have some advantages. So it is short wavelength from the X-rays 0.4 to 4 nanometer. No diffraction effort. Simple to use. No lenses is there. Faster than electron beam lithography. Uniform refraction pattern. High resolution for small feature size. These are the advantages of X-ray lithography. So some disadvantages also there. Disadvantages of X-ray lithography: thin lenses, distortion of in absorber, cannot be focused through the lens, masks are expensive to produce. So application of X-ray lithography. The X-ray lithography is primarily used in nanolithography. 50 nanometer optical resolution is there in the X-ray lithography. Utilize short wavelength of 1 nanometer. So require no lenses. Allows for small features size. Next one is atomic force microscope lithography. It is a instrument for atomic force microscope lithography, and the AIFM, atomic force microscope nanolithography, is a tool for material structuring and designing with nanometers precision. AIFM was invented in 1986 only. AIFM can be used to study both insulating and conducting material and can be operated in liquid, air or vacuum. AIFM nanolithography design a wide range of material including metal, semiconductor, polymers and biological molecules in different media. So for the capable, it is used for the different purposes in the industry. So working of AIFM, the working principle of AIFM nanolithography is based on the interaction between probe and the subtract. So the probe and the subtract have the interaction. Due to this interaction, the AIFM is working. The sample and the probe is there. In AIFM, a tiny cantilever with a sharp tip is scanned across the surface. This is the sharp tip. Cantilever, sharp tip, scanned across the surface. This interaction between the surface and the tip causes the cantilever to bend, and the bending is monitored using the laser beam. Here the laser beam is there. This bend in the cantilever is monitored by the laser beam. So this laser beam is used for the patterning. So here, in this way, the nanometer changes in height can be measured and used to generate three-dimensional image of the surface. The typical radius of curvature of the probe is 20 to 60 nanometer, and the probe subtract separation is close contact condition in less than 1 nanometer. Atomic force microscopic nanolithography exactly fills that surface. AIFM means nanoscale game of blind man puff. Three modes of operation. So in this AIFM lithography, three modes of operation is there. So first one is the contact mode. So it is also called as the static mode. The AIFM tips makes a soft physical contact with the sample. This tip is attached to the end of the cantilever with the low spring constant. The contact force causes the cantilever to bend the accommodate changes in the topography. So it is in this one, the tip and the surface to be contact. Next one is the intermediate contact mode, that is otherwise called as the tapping mode. The cantilever is driven to the oscillate up and down. The amplitude of this oscillation is greater than 10 nanometer, typically 100 to 200 nanometer. Third one is the non-contact mode. It is also known as dynamic mode. So the cantilever is vibrated near but not contact with the sample surface at the frequency slightly above the resonance frequency, typically 100 to 400 kilohertz, where its amplitude is typically a few nanometer. In this method, it is not touched with the sample piece. So conclusion, AFM is the versatile tool for investigate topography of surface, properties of surface, properties of single molecule, force within molecule. Sir, Yuvraj sir, please switch off your mic, sir. Okay, thank you. Soft lithography. So it is micro contact printing. It is used in the soft lithography. Soft lithography has been developed as an alternative to photolithography and a replication technology for both micro and nano fabrication. Soft lithography uses the design of a PDMS, polydimethyl siloxane stamps. This technique has wide range of application in cell biology, microelectronics, surface chemistry, micromachining, designing cells, designing DNA and designing protein. So nano imprint lithography, NIL. The nano imprint lithography is a lithography technique that combines the speed of optical lithography with the resolution of electron beam lithography. We use nano imprint lithography to make nanostructure subtract. So special stamp contain the nanoscale designed to the fabricated on the subtract. In the figure A, the stamp, it is contain the nanoscale design to a fabricated on the subtract. So it is a subtract, it is the resist, it is the stamp. So next, the stamp are pressed on the polymeric material resist that was previously deposited on the subtract. When the stamp is filled with the polymer, it is treated by UV light through the stamp, obtaining the stamp shapes. The residual layer of resist is left and can be removed. The metal layer can be deposited on the sample as shown in the figure. When the resist is removed, the nanoscale metals structure are left on the subtract. Application of the soft lithography, it can be used to make optical, photonic, electrical and biological devices. Advances in mold manufacturing will have wide application of nano imprint lithography in smaller devices. Next one is dip-in nanolithography. Dip-in nanolithography is a new AFM based direct wire soft lithography technique which is used to create nanostructures on a substrate on interest by delivering collection of molecule thiols or the sulfur equivalent of alcohol and the word in combination of thio plus alcohol. So via capillary transference from the AFM tip to a surface of the gold. In dip-in nanolithography, the tip of the AFM cantilever as a pen which is coated with a chemical compound acting as a ink and put in contact with the substrate, the paper. So here the cantilever is a pen and the chemical compound acts as a ink and the substrate acts as the paper. Like a, for that purpose it is called the dip-in nanolithography. Note that liquid ink are governed by very difficult deposition mechanism when compared to molecular ink. So like that, the molecules is arrayed and write in the papers and arrange the molecules to the required shape. The molecular ink diffusing from the nanoscale tip to a surface through a water minosis. Application of the dip and nanolithography. Dip and nanolithography is specially advantageous to biomolecular guidance. So DNA and protein arrays are being fabricated as a detection chips. DPN resolution is 4 to 5 orders of magnitude greater than other lithography techniques. So in microlithography and nanolithography refers specially to lithographic patterning method capable of structuring material on a fine scale. So typically features smaller than 10 micrometer are considered as the microlithographic, and features smaller than 100 nanometers are considered as the nanolithographic. So nanolithography manufacturing technologies with the capabilities of deposition at an atomic level. It is used to reduce the size of the sensor. So the lithography technology used in the sensor manufacturing. So for that, we are using the sensor in the different purposes in the industrial automation. So in this one, the sensors are used in the robotics also. So robotic is the one form of industrial automation. So here, the how to use the sensor in the robotics. So what is the use of sensor in robotics? So a sensor is a window for a robot to the environment. So sensors allows robot to understand the measure the geometric and physical properties of object in their surrounding environment, such as position, orientation, velocity, acceleration, distance, size, force, moment, temperature, luminance, weight, etc. So they send the signal to the processor. For example, a security alarm system may have an infrared sensor which sends the signal when the beam is broken. So robot sensor. So what is the robot? A robot is a machine, especially one programmable by a computer capable of carrying out a complex series of action automatically. It is called the robot. So in the robot sensor, a device that can be detect physical signal and convert into the electrical signal. The robotic sensor are used to estimate a robot condition and environments. These signals are passed to a controller to enable the appropriate behavior. See here, it's a humanoid robot is there. In this robot, a different sensor are used. Here in the tactile sensor, the cameras, microphones. So internal sensor, two mobile eyes cameras. So sensor in the each joints. So like that in the different sensors. Here also the touch sensor, light sensor, nose sensor. So different sensor used in the single robot. According to our requirements, the sensor are used. The sensor are classified. The sensors are generally classified into two groups: internal sensor and external sensors. So in the internal sensors, such as the position sensor, velocity sensor, acceleration sensor, motor torque sensor, etc., obtain the information about the robot itself. So external sensor such as cameras, range sensor, that is IR sensor, laser range finder, and ultrasonic sensors used as a range sensor. Contact and proximity sensors, photodiode, IR detector, RFID, touch, etc. is used as the proximity sensor, and force sensor gather the information in the surrounding environment. Types of robotic sensors. So in these 7 sensors are mostly used all robots. So it is the important sensor. So in this one, first one is the light sensor, sound sensor, temperature sensor, tactile sensor, position sensor, proximity sensor, and acceleration sensor. These 7 sensors commonly used in the all robots basically. So according to our requirements, it may be extended in the some more types. So in the hundreds of sensors is available. So according to our requirements, it is maybe increased. So in the distance sensor, pressure sensor, voltage sensor, current sensor, IMU sensor are also there. So in the first one is the light sensor. So a light sensor is used to detect light and create a voltage difference. The two main light sensors generally used in robots are photoresistor and photovoltaic cells. Other light sensors like phototubes, phototransistor, CCDs, charge coupled device, etc. are rarely used for the light sensors. So some of the type of light sensors is there. It is according to the manufacturer's names as also added in the sensor's name. So VEX light sensor, LIGO light sensor 1000 LUX. So SEI box lights detector. So TAOS TSL 235R light to frequency converter, parallax QTI sensor, DF robot ambient light sensor, Andrew Lilly pad light sensor, DF robot BH 1750 light sensor, CDS photoconductive cells. These are the some types of light sensor used in the robots. So in this one, the light sensor, basically the photoresistor. So it is the photoresist. It's a type of resistor whose resistance varies with the light intensity changes. Here it is observe the light intensity, so it is changes the voltage. So more light leads to the less resistance, and less light leads to the more resistance. They can be easily implemented in the light dependent robots. Light dependent robots, these photoresistor sensor are used. So here photovoltaic cells, so it is convert the solar radiation into the electricity. So this is especially helpful when the planning a solar robot. While the photovoltaic cells is considered is an energy source, a smart implementation combined with the resistors. The capacitors can convert into the sensor. The capacity is converted into a sensor. So next one is the 2D and 3D vision. So yes, standard 2D machine vision image is flat, calibrated to measure length and width, but does not provide the height informations. The 3D vision allows the robot to detect the orientation of parts that need to handling more effectively, even if the location and position of the component vary. A 3D vision system can accurately guide the robot arm during the assembly, while a robot arm can provide multiple viewing angle for critical assembly in inspection. So VEX light sensor. The light sensor from VEX is one of the simplest light sensor which can be used for robotics to allow the robot detect the lights. It is the VEX light sensor. Another one is the LIGO light sensor. So in the LIGO light sensor is designed to fit perfectly into the LIGO robot. It can be used to improve the robot vision, is perfect to light detection, light intensity, and to distinguish between the light or dark environment. Light sensor 1000 LUX. So in the light sensor from widgets can be measured the visible light spectrum of a human eye between 1 to 1000 LUX. Output signal is analog, has a current consumption of 2 milliamps and an error of 5%. SEI box light detector. It is a SEI box light detector is used to detect the ambient light density. SEI box has two different voltage output and work with the photoresistor. TAOS TSL 235R light to frequency converter. So in the TSL 235R from TAOS is a sensor to measure light intensity and its output is frequency. It it can communicate with the microcontroller or other logic circuitry. Parallax QTI sensor. The output signal can be both analog and digital. This sensor can be successfully used in robot to follow a line or for navigation. Next, DFR robot ambient light sensor. So ambient light sensor from DFR robot has an analog output value between 0 to 5 VDC directly proportional to light intensity. Android lily pad light sensor. So Android lily pad light sensor is a sensor specially designed for use with the Android lily pad mainboard and can be emulated perfectly on any project in the robotics. DF robot BH1750 light sensor. BH1750 is one of the best performing light sensor with the high resolution of 1 to 65,535 LUX lumens. Work equally well in low light and in sunlight. CDS photoconductive cell. The photoconductive cell is a basic electronic component, both small and simple, that can be integrated into a variety of applications. Next one is the sound sensor. This sensor, generally a microphone, detects sound and return a voltage proportional to the sound level. A simple robot can design to navigate based on the sound it received. Imagine a robot with turn right or 1 clap and turn left for a 2 claps. Complex robot can use the same microphone for a speech and voice recognition. Voice system also use robot with the voice commands. Next, temperature sensor. Temperature sensor are used to detect the surrounding temperature changes. It is based on the principle of voltage difference, changes for temperature changes. This voltage change will provide the surrounding temperature equivalent. Temperature sensing application include air temperature, surface temperature, immersion temperature, etc. ICs provide voltage difference for a change in the temperatures. Few generally used temperature sensor ICs are LM34, LM35, TMP35, TMP36 and TMP37. Tactile sensor. So tactile sensor allow the robot to touch and feel. These sensors are used to measure application and gently interact with the environment. Touch sensor or contact sensor. Touch sensor is capable of sensing and detecting sensor and object touch. Some of the commonly used simple devices are micro switches, limit switches, etc. These sensors are mostly used for robot to avoid obstacles. When this sensor hit an obstacle, it triggers the task for the robot, which can be reversed, turned, switched on or stopped, etc. This movement may be initiated with the help of this tactile sensor, that is limit switches. So next one is the force sensor. The force sensor is included in calculating the force of several functions, such as machine loading and unloading, material handling, and so on, performed by a robot. This sensor will also be better assembly process, check problems. If you design a robot hand and need to measure the amount of grip and pressure required to hold the object, so then this is what you would want to use. So these sensors used according to our requirements. So if the robot is, we design the robot, so how much amount of force required to grip the object is must be calculated. So according to that only we are giving the some force to the that end effectors. So in this one, the end effector force must be calculated. So for that purposes we use these force sensors. So next one is position sensor. The position sensor are used to approximate the position of the robot. The usual positioning sensor in a GPS, global positioning system, satellite orbiting our Earth transmit the signals, and a robot receives the accuracy and processing these signals, use the processed information to determine a robot approximately position and velocity. So it is used for that robot position and how much it is need to move and how to access the object like that. So in this one, the digital magnetic compass provide the directional measurement, use the earth magnetic field that guides your robot to reach the destination. So compared to GPS module, these sensors are cheap, but compass works best when you need both the position, feedback and navigation. Another method called the location refers to the task of automatically determining a robot location based on external element, such as natural and artificially placed landmark such as doors, windows, walls, etc. Next one is proximity sensor. The nearby object can be detected by a proximity sensor without physical contact. The transmit the electromagnetic radiation in the adjacent sensor and receives and analyzes the interruption feedback signal. Thus, the amount of light received in the area can be used to detect the presence or nearby object. The sensor provides a collision avoidance method for a robot. So there are various types of proximity sensor and only few of them are usually used in the robot. So infrared transceiver. An IR LED transmits an IR light beam that reflects the light captured by the IR reception when an obstacle is found. It is also used as the proximity sensor. Another one, ultrasound sensor. These sensors generated a sound waves at a high frequencies. The received echo indicates the object is interpreted. Ultrasound sensor can also be used for distance measurements. Next one is acceleration sensor. An accelerometer is a device for measuring acceleration and tilt. Two types of force affect an accelerometer. Static force, a frictional force between any two objects. By measuring this gravity, we can determine how much robot tilt. This measurement is useful in balancing robot or determining whether the robot is driving on the flat or uphill surfaces. Next one is the dynamic force. The acceleration requires to move an object. Measuring dynamic force using an accelerometer tells the speed at which robot moves. So next one is the voltage sensor. Voltage sensor typically convert the lower voltage to a higher voltage or vice versa. One example is general operational amplifier, which accepts low voltage, amplifies it and generates a high voltage output. Few voltage sensors are used to find the potential difference between the two ends. Even a simple LED can act as a voltage sensor, which can be detect a voltage difference and light up, not considering current requirements here. Next one is current sensor. Current sensor are electronic circuit which monitor the current flow in a circuit and output either proportional voltage or a current. Most current sensors output an analog voltage between 0 volt to 5 volt, which can be processed further using a microcontroller. Next sensor, IMU. Inertial measurement unit. Combined properties of two or more sensors such as accelerometer, gyro, magnetometer, etc. to measure orientation, velocity, and gravitational forces. In simple words, IMU are capable of providing feedback by detecting changes in an object's orientation, that is the pitch, roll, and yaw of the robot arm and robot end effector. So in this one, the end effector, the wrist, and the final tool or the gripper used to the movement of the robot. It is combined sensors are used for this position of the fingers or the end effector gripper to detect the position and change the position and how to move the position. So these purposes, so we use the IMU with the combined 2 or 3 sensor with the combined manner. So in this one, the velocity and gravitational force, few IMUs go to step further in combine a GPS device providing a positional feedback. So like that, the IMU are used for the grip end effector movements and the robot arm movements. So other sensors, some of the other sensors also used in the robots. There are hundreds of sensors made today to sense the virtually anything you can think of, and it is almost impossible to list all the available sensors. So generally, a few sensors are, apart from this mentioned above, there are many other sensors used in the specific applications. For example, humidity sensor measure the humidity. So in this our working area, the environment have the humidity change. How to measure the this humidity with the help of the humidity sensor. So next, gas sensor are designed to detect the particular gases. Helpful for robot with detect the gas leakages. So these purposes we use the gas sensors. Potentiometers are so versatile that they can be used in numerous different applications. Magnetic field sensors detect the strength and magnetic field around it. So like that, the different sensors are used for the sense the robot movements. So the above listed sensor, more than 100 sensors are used in the same robot. So but for our requirements and our work nature, we are select the sensors and robots. So in the robots, it may be the different purposes in the different applications. So we know that today's in the industrial automation, the robot is unavoidable in the day-by-day life, right? So we come to the conclusion: a simple obstacle avoider robot can be built using a couple of photoresistor or infrared sensors. The more complex your robot gets, the more number of sensors you tend to use. A single task may require a combination of different sensors, or different tasks can be achieved using a single sensor. It is based on our requirements and nature of the work. Sometimes a task can be performed from any of the many available sensors. Decide the best sensor based on availability, cost, and easy to use. So according to our requirements, our budget of the automation, so our planning, our cost estimation, we select the robots and the sensors. So what are the applications we are used, what are the accuracy we are needed. So according to that only we are select the robot as well as the in this particular robot have what are the sensors is needed. So what are the specifications of the robot is needed. So according to our application, we select the robot as well as the sensors. So in the sensors is unavoidable in the today's automation. Not only in the industrial automation, in our day-by-day life, the sensor is unavoidable. From our home itself, many sensor we are used day by day. We know that even though today's in the very simple washing machine itself have the number of sensors are used. So in our automobile vehicles, we are using the many sensors. So like that, we are day by day life, we are using the sensor according to our requirements and application and cost. We select the accuracy and the size of the sensor may be varied. So in this one, the nano sensors, so with the help of the nano lithography or the nano fabrication, we made the sensor. So in this sensor is very tiny particles, very minute particles. It is maybe used in the robots for the automation, industrial automation. So if the very small sensor used in the robots, so it is compact design is possible. And also in the sensors, in the nano sensor used in the medical field also. So many applications in the medical also in the nano sensors are used. So we which in this discussion we concluded that our requirements under the cost estimation and easy to use, we select the sensor under the robots. Thank you.